It's May, and that means there's a whole bunch of new miniatures for all of you 3D printers out there that some crazy, amazing, imaginative creators have put together. Now, if you're wondering in this video why I suddenly changed t-shirt, that's because my camera died, like, towards the end of the video and I lost all of my footage, which is really frustrating. But here we are, again, for take two. So I'm going to try and do this in one shot. That gives me some less editing, and it makes up for the fact that I lost all the footage. So first up, we're going to kick off with fantasy, we'll then move on to sci-fi, and then we'll move on to D&D related models, and then we'll move on to terrain, followed up with like Kickstarter and anything that you can back as well. I'll have everything timestamped in the description below, so if you're here for just one particular part, that's fine. Head on over to that bit, check it out. And yeah, and if I miss any creators that you think really stand out, throw them down in the comments below, because I've got a lot this month. There's some really, really fun stuff. Very themed around like whimsical, like, I don't know, dwarves, halflings, all of that stuff, gnomes and everything. So first off, we will kick off with Titan Forge, and they've got like chaos and also gnomes. So I mentioned there's a lot of gnomes throughout this whole thing. There we go. So they've got warriors and gnomes, and they've got all these like barbarian chaos dudes, and I think they look really, really good. They've got big old chunky weapons, no fragile kind of like spindly bits that are going to break off. And all in all, they look great. I mean, this looks fantastic. This chariot with these reindeers, these like undead reindeer pulling them. I think that out of the entire set of everything that I'm going to cover through this whole video, I really like that. That's one of my favourite ones there. It's different. It really stands out. And obviously you've got all their normal like units and stuff like that. And there's a lot going on here to like. And then it's interesting because they really, really contrast between obviously the Dark Knights and everything like that to these guys. So you've got a gnome train, and that looks so cool. So you've got this gnome train here, and you go across onto these things. There's just so many random little whimsical things as part of this set. And perhaps my favourite, not the hot air balloon, although I do really like that hot air balloon. Where are they? Come on. Dog riders. Gnomes on shaggy dogs. You know, normally they'd go with like ponies or something like that. But shaggy dogs are fantastic. So that's Titan Forge. I really like that one. There's a lot good going there. So moving on to the next one, we've got Artisan Guild, which is similar themed. So they've gone with these like forest dwarves, they call them, but I think they look very like halfling-y and gnome-y as well. And they fit really nice. So where's the overview of this one? So we pull this up. Here we go. So you've got their overview for that. You've got all like their cutesy little units and stuff like that. And then they've got these like little foxes that they're all riding on as well. And there's these baby foxes that you can print off too. And I really, really like their dragon. Like their dragon looks absolutely superb. It looks like it'd be a really big beastie to print off, but it looks very solid. And the thing that I really like about it is all four of his feety paws, they're on the ground. And sometimes, I don't know, I guess it's probably a bit tempting sometimes to do something that looks really cool and they've only got like the tail on the ground or maybe a wing, but then over time the resin causes it to sag or it breaks because there's just not much contact with the ground. They've done a fantastic job with that and it looks really, really nice. So Artisan Guild there, very nice little set, and I think that'd go really nicely actually with the Titan Forge one. And in fact, there's a lot through here that will just link really nicely. So if you are currently into like gnomes and dwarves and just whimsical creatures, you could make a really fun army from a combination of all these different sets of like, I don't know, just a really whimsical looking army. Okay, so next on the list, we've got Parasite Collectibles. And I've written the note here as Deerhead riding a bear, which will probably make your imagination run wild. Come on, once it opens. Here we go. So Deerhead riding a bear. And this one is great. And these guys seem to show up each month in the list. And they do like just a one unit thing. And this one looks fantastic. So this big old armoured bear, so like Yorick Bernstein. So you can have something really fun there. And then this riding the bear. And there's a lot going on here that I really, really like. So obviously the bear itself looks fantastic. And the rider looks fantastic. But then when you kind of like delve into some of the detail, you've got, you know, this bit here hanging off the edge. The armour panels look nice as well. They look like they'll print really well, which sounds silly, but sometimes you get really fiddly tiny bits that just don't look great. And then this guy looks amazing. If you go through, you've got some different shots from different angles. There again, looks amazing. Big chunky weapon as well, so you don't have to worry about that kind of breaking off or not printing particularly well. Then you've got him on foot. And for some reason, I really like his shoes. They're just a little bit different. Something, I don't know what it is. I like those shoes. They look good. And the one thing I couldn't quite figure out is he wearing a skull as a helmet, or is his head actually like that? It looks like it probably is a helmet because you've got like a beard just under there. But then the only thing I would say I don't like about it too much is he looks like he's probably got a bit of a pinhead, but who knows. And moving across, different angles. You've got this big old bear trap on the back, which makes sense. You know, he's a bear rider. And then you've also got the bear on his own. So if you wanted to put your own units on there, you could print off the bear and do that. I think that looks fantastic. So that is Parasite Collectibles. And they always seem to make those one really good model each month. And I really like that one. Next up is Highlands Miniatures. If you're into Orcs and Goblins at the moment, then you probably already subscribed to them. But this month, they went wild. So they went with Crustacean Goblins, which I just think looks amazing. So let's pull up the preview for that. Here we go. I mean, just drink that in. There is a lot going on here. So 8, you get a lot of units, which is always nice. But they have absolutely taken basically Games Workshop style, made it their own, and put their own spin onto it. So you've got the big old thing here, the big lobster with a pirate ship on the back of it, which looks fantastic. Then what would be spider riders are riding these like little crabs. Then you've got like the little snotling things here as well, the little grots, and they look amazing. And then the Doom Diver, they're kind of jumping off of this big old like platform with rockets on the back. There's so much to like about this set. And I mean, that looks fantastic. The goblins all look great, and they would fit so well if you were doing like an Age of Sigmar army or an Old World army. All of these would fit so nicely with it because they're still in that same style, but they've got all those extra bits that make them look amazing. And then the Crab Riders, yes, I'm here for that. And then you've got your standard goblin. He looks really fun as well. He's just in this, again, different type of armor. He looks like he's absolutely stolen that from somebody, and he's just going for it. And then these guys, there's just so much. And the snotlings, actually, I don't know if they're called snotlings anymore, but these guys look amazing. Weapons that are too big for them, really struggling to lift it. And yeah, that's Highlands Miniatures. If you're into Orcs and Goblins, then you should be subscribed to them because they're amazing. Next up is One Page Rules. And One Page Rules, obviously their rule set is amazing. It's great fun to play, it's easy to get into. But I always find they're a bit hit and miss sometimes with the models. Sometimes they're amazing, sometimes they're just average. They don't always take my fancy. And I say that, I couldn't do better. You know, I'm not a sculptor at all, so they do really good stuff. But this month, their undead stuff looks beautiful. And especially this, let's kick it off. This thing is insane. It's just, I would hate to paint it, but the more and more I look at it, I mean, obviously you've got these zombies and ghouls like rising up, and the vampire lord coming out of his coffin there, with all these winged bat creatures, and the little guys running away. I think if you were going to paint this, do it in like, not doing loads and loads of detail, but almost like a theme. So a lot of OSL, a lot of effects and stuff like that. So doing it all black, and then like a bit of a dry brush to pick out a lot of the detail. And then maybe doing like a red sort of like filter over the top of it, because obviously you've got all these like vampires, it's undead and everything, so it adds a really nice red filter. Bit of OSL coming there to really light up a few of these front ones that are charging at this guy. So the only things that I would probably then paint the detail into is maybe this guy running away and these front ones here that are coming out of the darkness, and then the vampire lord as well. So that way you've got two really bright focal points, and the rest of it is this nice red sort of like filter over it. So you can just about pick out the details. I think that would look fantastic. I'm not going to do it because it's probably beyond me, but I think that's it. That's what I would go for if I was going to paint that model. And then moving on to the rest of the units, there's a lot of great stuff here as well. So you've got all like your skeletons on horseback. You've got these ghoulies that have all been stitched together. And then some like werewolves. And there's never enough werewolves in undead armies for some reason. So really nice to see that there. So One Page Rules have absolutely nailed it. I've not been a massive fan of their other stuff because their undead have massive feet for some reason. And they look a little bit like Mickey Mouse. But these look really, really good. So next up, we've got Beholder Miniatures. And that is Chaos Knights and Elves, according to my notes. So they've got a really nice contrast here. I guess if you're collecting two different types of armies, or either of these, there's a lot of stuff here to take away that's quite nice. So first up, you've got like your Chaos Knights on horseback, and they're quite traditional type things, what you'd expect to put in like an Age of Sigmar or Old World army for Chaos. Again, nice chunky bits on there. So like the Lances, for example, there's a lot of chunkiness there. or the bits for the horses. It's all very chunky, so it should hopefully print off nicely, not snap off when you're removing the support, and just not snap when you look at it, because sometimes resin does. Again, different angles and different weapons, so big chunky swords. And then you've got the elves, and the elves, they look really nice. There's just enough detail on there to get a lot of nice paintwork in there. I think they take washes really nicely. The weapons are nice and thick as well, so they're not going to snap. Very nice poses. And you've got some more, like the command units for your chaos as well. Again, they look fantastic. And then you've got your archer elves, and you know, a lot of people put those arrows in there as well just to kind of give a bit more detail. And they look thick enough that they're not going to snap as well, because sometimes they're really thin and they bend or they snap or they warp. So these look great. And then the chariot as well. Chariot drawn by lions. Yeah, I like this. There's a lot here, and if you're into elves or anything like that, then definitely worthwhile checking out. So that's Beholder Miniatures. And next up, we've got Last Sword Miniatures, who are doing like a Bretonnia set. So that's the overview there. And as you can see, you get a lot. You've got like your, you see Griff, your Green Knight proxy, your lady here, and then all your knights as well. If we look at those individually, there's a lot here. They're really nicely detailed. So here we go, so your Griff here. And I quite like this one. I don't know what it is. Normally, like your Games Workshop stuff or things this is, I guess, closer related to, are really massive. This is quite interesting. It looks more horsey proportions. I really like it for some reason. And then you've got, it's like your captain here. And then this dude as well. But moving on to like your Green Knight proxy. And I really, really like the Green Knight. I've always been tempted to pick one up, but I just never quite have. This is a very nice proxy for that. And then you've got the damsel on foot as well. And this, I think, is a really lovely sculpt. There's just so much here. The fabric detail looks really nice. The staff looks great as well. Again, it's nice and thick, so it's not going to kind of snap off. I love all like the headdress that she's wearing. There's a lot of detail on there and a lot of stuff you could do. I think that'd be a really fun one to paint up in really bright, whimsical colours and add to a Bretonnian army. And then, of course, the bread and butter, or the meat, I don't know. The thing you've come here for are the knights. I really like these. These are very different. They're similar in styling to like your standard Bretonnia, what you'd expect. But obviously they're normally just like marching. These are all charging. I mean, look at them. They are well and truly about to charge into the flank of an enemy. They've got all their lances lowered. All the horses are charging. And the thing I like most about these, and this is going to sound really silly, but I printed multiple horses off before. And when they've only got like 2 feet on the ground, like some of these do, they then bend over time because the resin that I use tends to be quite flexible because you don't want it to snap. But that means that the horses don't always stay upright unless they've got like 3 or 4 like hooves on the ground. They've done the same, but if you look here, for example, the bit where the the bit where the foot isn't on the ground or touching the ground, they've got these arrows that are connecting to the foot to add some stability to it. And they've done the same here, for example. You can see it throughout all the models where they don't have all 4 feet on the ground or if they've got a foot raised, it's also connected to something else which puts it on the ground, which should hopefully stop it from flexing over time. It's really, really good like future thinking. And I wish every creator out there would make sure that there is so much contact with the main bulk of the model and the base, because otherwise it becomes an issue. And it sometimes seems to get missed in sculpting and becomes an issue going on. So hats off to them. That's how everybody out there should do it. I know maybe not arrows, because who knows. It's not going to be to everyone's taste, but it makes the model actually more practical, which is the main thing. And it still looks amazing. So that is fantasy. And now we're moving on to sci-fi. So starting off with sci-fi, we've got Arc Villain Games. And they've done Space Elves, and the Space Elves look fantastic. Where is the preview? Here we go. So I really like Arc Villain Games. I think they do some great versions of other stuff that exists and they add their own flair onto it. There's a lot of detail there though. So you could go absolutely wild. If you are a pro painter, you could do something beautiful with these. And they look amazing. All of their elves, you know, space elves here, look fantastic. They look just close enough that they would fit if you were obviously doing your standard 40k stuff, but different enough that they would really stand out nicely. Love the vehicles, they look great. This looks just so weird. The walker looks fantastic. Just all in all, they look really, really nice. There's a lot of great sculpting going on there, a lot of great detail, and they would fit as nice little proxies to use as well. Next up, we've got Station Forge, and they did just add something else on there as well after I've made this the first thing of the video. Now, Station Forge, if you're into sci-fi, you probably should be subscribed to them because they just have so much. So first up, you've got these like medics, and they look great. They're just really funky. You could do a lot with this. They're all modular as well, so you can make them look your own and have a lot of fun with them. Use the parts for something else, do a lot of kit bashing. Then they've got an orc, which I'm not massively into like 40k type orcs, but if you are, then they've got a whole range of different orcs as well, and these look fantastic. Little squig on his shoulder, big one down here by his feet. But then moving on to the ones that are really fun. First up, you've got their space crabs, like Tyranid crabs, and these look great. At least I think they do. Now, when they first launched, they're like Tyranid type proxies. They kind of looked like trash, and I think a lot of people had the same sentiment as well. But after like 2 or 3 releases, they really found their style, and they've made them look great. And they would look great amongst your normal Tyranids, or if you're just doing your own thing. These look fantastic. Again, they're modular as well. So if you want to go for like a complete horde army, you could print off so many of these and just go wild with it. You could have so many and just, yeah, I like these. They look different enough. There's just something different about those. They look really insectile, and yeah, I'm here for it. And the other one, if you are into Helldivers at the moment, got a Helldivers dropship. I printed off a whole bunch of their Helldivers last month because they've done like the Helldivers on foot. And I've also printed off like 100 of their Grimguard units and loads of tanks and stuff like that. I've got a video coming up at the moment, but it's going to take me forever to paint up. So stay tuned for that one. But their stuff is great. If you're doing Imperial Guard, there is so much variety from Station Forge. And this looks great. I really like it. They have all the like crew and the guys ready to drop as well that you can put in there. I never do that because A, I'm lazy. But if you really, really wanted it as like a centerpiece and like to show off, obviously you've got that. You've got all like the drop ramp and stuff like that comes down. You could then paint them all up inside of it. You could go wild. It looks like all these bits will turn as well, so you can change for its landing gear. There's so many pieces. So that's Station Forge. And if you're into sci-fi, like I said, you should probably be checking them out because there's so many great things by them. Next up, we've got Gamuk. And like One Page Rules, they are one of the creators that sometimes I love. Like their monthly releases can be amazing. And then other times it's just a bit like, not really doing it for me. This month, Gamuk is doing it for me, which sounds awful. Here we go. There is something for everyone with this. So first up, you've got all your guardsmen, and these look gorgeous. They look really, really good. Again, detailed, so probably more detailed than Games Workshop stuff, but it looks like you could paint them up quite nicely and easily, and they look fantastic. And then moving across, you've got some Chaos stuff as well. So you've got these Chaos Riders on bikes, and they look fantastic. And then you've got the Jump Jet troops, so the Raptors, I think they are. I might be getting that wrong, but they look fantastic as well. So if you're into Chaos, you've then got something for that. And then you've got the big old boy here. It looks, I guess you'd use it as like an Abaddon type proxy, which looks amazing. And then you've got some Tyranids as well. And these are funky. I mean, look at them. They've got this weird old, I don't know, has he got the weird cape on the back of him? Like the, I can't remember the actual unit from Games Workshop. And then this big thing. And I found the Gamuks, because they've been moving more into Tyranids as well, feel a bit more organic, almost like a mammal mixed with an insect rather than like the Tyranid stuff. I really like it. But this month's set looks fantastic. So that's Gamuk. Worthwhile checking out if you're into any of those type of units. And then moving on to the next one, which is One Page Rules again. And they, again, have gone for Space Elves. So if you're into Space Elves this month, there's a lot of variety for you and a lot of stuff to choose. I think that these look fantastic. So let's pull those up. Here we go. So they don't show off the full thing. There's still some bits there, which I'm guessing are going to be like their grav tanks. But all in all, I really like these. These look great. And they'll be modular. There'll be bits there that you can print off so you can mix them up and have just as many as you need. But there's a whole variety of stuff there. And these look like they would fit very, very nicely with just your standard 40k stuff. So if you're looking for proxies for those type of units, I like them. They look very, very nice. A decent amount of detail on there. You can see all the bits there. The weapons look fantastic. They're all pretty well posed. And again, because they can come off in modular parts, you can then mix them up and match them to your heart's content. So that is one-page rules, and next up we are on to Den of Imagination, and my description is Mortarion and his boys. So this is Den of Imagination, and you've got some really, really nice stuff here. So you've got these which can be used as like Mortarion proxies, and I like the fact that you get two versions of this. You can really, I guess, choose which one you want. I love the wings on this one. It looks like this kind of like, you could paint it in two ways, I think. Either it's fungal, because at first glance, that looks fungal to me, like all this fungus coming out of him. But then it could also be this like gas, like all this plague gas that's coming out of him as well, because it matches these bits that are pluming off him. So you could do it as that way. And then on this one, you've got these, like the more traditional Mortarion type wings as well. Both of them look great. This guy's got all his armor on instead. This guy's bursting out of his armor with all his bulges and stuff. They look fantastic. Then you've got this so weird. And I can't remember which, is it the Hellbrute? Or was that the Dreadnought? I can't remember, but there is like a unit in 40k that looks kind of like that, and I always think it looks kind of goofy, but it also looks fun at the same time, because it's just, this model looks disgusting, in the fact it's like this whole amalgamation of different things. It's got this huge stomach there, and it's bursting open with teeth. Looks great. And then you've got all of these guys as well, and they look fantastic, because they look a mix of like zombies that have been mixed with The Last of Us, with all this like fungal growth and stuff. So Den of Imagination, and worthwhile if you're into Nurgle at the moment and all your Plague Marines and stuff like that. Give them a go. Moving across onto 8 Legs miniatures, and I chose these guys because they've got a lot of tanks going for them. And sometimes it's hard to find different spins on tanks. You can find all of the like tanks just in general, like one-to-one copies of what Games Workshop does, pretty easily on like cults and stuff like that. But it's always nice to try and find something that's a little bit different. And I think this month they've done well. And as well as tanks, you also get some like different models as well that you could use. So you've got like this dude here, or this lady. But moving on to the creme de la creme, which is the tanks, which is what I found I really like. So you've got this chaotic tank here. A lot of stuff going on there. It looks really nice. Nice solid parts as well. So even though they've got all these spiky bits on there, they look like they won't break, and you know, just a look. And then you can change it up as well. So I think it's got, different customization options as well, so you can mix it up depending what type of thing you want in your army. And then you've also got this one, which is like a salamander style of tank. So you've got like the dragon heads there, all the scales and stuff like that as well. I mean, they look a little bit more cartoony, I suppose, than some 40k stuff, but depending on your paint scheme for that, you could really make that blend with your army that you've already got. So I really like those. And you also get this weird old little demon. Where is he? Here he is. I think that looks really cool as well. So the tanks are my main thing that I like about these, but you also get like some demon bits as well, some other like little units you could play with. Like him. Like weird old bulbous demon. So next up, Immaterial God miniatures, and that's more of a chaos one. So let's load up. I've printed off some of their Emperor's Children, and they look fantastic. Like once you've got them all printed off, they look really good. If we load up this set here. So with this one, you get some bikes, you get this old Stompy Boy, and you get this, and also these guys. But the thing that I really like is this. It reminds me of Killing Floor, you know, the big old meat grinder guy with the chainsaw fists. I think it looks fantastic. I also really like these. I can't remember the name of the actual units in 40k, the not Devastators, the ones that are Space Marines. Basically, they're a Space Marine in armor, in more armor with weapons hanging off of them. Those, and I think these look better, in my opinion, than the 40k ones, because the proportions are just a little bit better. I guess everyone's got their own taste, but I like them. And then I really like these bikes as well. So the one thing I found with Immaterial God miniatures is they really, really style their backpacks. They've got big backpacks for their units. And sometimes they look a little bit goofy in the renders, but actually when they're printed off, they look really good. I really like them. So they're worthwhile checking out as well if you're into some more chaotic units. Moving across, we've then got Ace Minis, and they've done a range of tanks, and they come in different scales. So depending on what sort of thing you are printing it in, you're either going to get like traditional scales, so you could use it in 40k, or you could use it in things like Legions Imperialis as well. And they look like, even if you took the smaller scale stuff, you could scale it up, and there's enough detail on there that it wouldn't look stupid. And with the big stuff, you could scale it down, and it would also fit really well. So depending on what kind of game system you're using, these would work nicely. So you've got all of these as well. There's a lot of stuff going for them. It makes me want to print off some more stuff for Legions Imperialis, but I lost my love for that game when Games Workshop just couldn't keep up with demands and then released expansion after expansion in such quick succession. So very frustrating, but it is what it is. But here you go, like these 6mm ones. So you can print those off, use them in the game of Legion Imperialis. Lots of different proxies here for you, since you can't ever seem to buy anything from Games Workshop because. So yes, that is Ace Minis. Lots of different tanks there for you. And then we got two more. So we've got Anvil Industry, and I've written Gangers for these ones. And these would be great for Necromunda. So if you're into Necromunda, or if you just wanted to have a bit of a unique sort of squad in like your 40k stuff, you've got these. Now they're all modular, so there are these like gang fighters, like sci-fi gang fighters. A lot of stuff you can do with these. So like their heads, which are all really bright in the renders, which is really bizarre, but I guess it draws attention to all the different parts of those. So you can change up all the different heads. There's loads of different heads here. And then they've got different body types as well, so you can change the bodies, you can change the legs. Some more bodies and legs as well. And if you're really into the biker gang from Book of Boba Fett, you could probably create that as well. I mean, you probably shouldn't, but you could do if you wanted to. And you've got all the different like poses, you've got different arms, you've got the different hands, you've got different weapons. There's a lot here. So if you wanted a couple of different gangs for Necromunda, if you wanted different squads and stuff like that, or just to proxy in a few different units, there's a lot here. So that is Anvil Industry. So the last one for Sci-Fi is Piper Makes, and they've always done a lot of like Tau style proxies. But recently I've noticed they've moved more into their own stuff. So even though it is still Tau-esque, it's their own spin, and like they look really unique, but close enough to Tau that you could use them for different units. And I'm quite tempted to get these purely because I just got the new Combat Patrol for Tau. So I'm going to be doing that as a video in the future, and I figured it'd be quite nice to have some extra things in there. And these look great. They're really slender. And you could have them as something completely different to Tau if you wanted to, because you could have them as like this AI type robot machine. And they look great. And they're all modular. And they just look really interesting. I like the look of these a lot. There's so much going on here. You can have a lot of fun with these. And there we go, some different previews. And I think they've got a shot of one of all the parts. Here we go. Yeah, so you got all the different parts. It kind of shows you what it'll look like. I love this. The like propeller that goes on the edge there. I think, again, it looks so unique and different. So, yeah, here for that. So that's Piper Makes. If you're into Tau stuff, worthwhile checking out. Okay, and we are moving on to D&D now. And this is near the bit where my camera crashed. So hopefully I'll be caught up soon. So first up, we've got Arc Villain Games. And they've done some fish people. I really like the look of this set. So let's pop that up here. So again, with this, you're going to get your monthly adventure and all the stuff to go with this. And I'm not normally a big fan of like fishy armies and stuff like this, but these look great. All of their base units, you've got all the heroes here as well. They look fantastic. Again, there's so much detail on these, probably too much detail for just your average person, but I guess you could print them off, base coat them, dry brush them and throw a wash on them because there's so much detail. The wash would capture a lot of that. So you could still do it relatively easily. But I love them. These, like, those, though, is it angelfish? The ones who've got the light that come off them, the lure thing into their mouth. It's got, like, those. The thing that I love in this set is this. I think it looks amazing. You've got this person riding it, with 3 heads coming off it. This sea serpent looks great. And these big eyeball fish chariots as well. They look absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's a great looking set and so much going on there. Now, next up is Claymore Miniatures, and I've got Evil Wood Dragon and lots of fun minis written in my notes for this one. So this set has probably my favourite mini of the month, and at a first glance it doesn't look that interesting, but the more and more I look at this model, the more and more I really like it. So it's this wood dragon, but you've got all this kind of like mossy bit underneath it here. And then it goes up into all of these leaves, which looks amazing. And then these like kind of bats, claw type bits. And then even on like his face, you've got leaves there coming off the edge. His horns here are all like wood. And I just think it looks such a good model. It looks really well themed. And the model's pose as well. A, All 4 of his legs are touching the ground, which is great, so it's not going to sag and break over time. But he either looks like he could be deep in thought and listening to you, so your party's approached him and having a conversation with him. He could be deep in thought, or he looks like he could be ready to strike. He could be either of those. It's a great, great model. And all the rest of the models are themed very similarly. And I don't play that much D&D, but I'm really tempted just to subscribe to these because I want to know what the adventure is, because I'm really intrigued by all these minis. So as we go through them, there's so much going on, and every time I look at the minis, I'm like, what's causing that? What's the adventure behind that? What's the story behind it? So the heroes all look great, but they're not the standout ones. Here we go. So you're moving on to like the monsters and stuff here. So very much like that dragon, they're all themed around it. They're all telling a story, and I want to know what that story is. Like this. So basically you've got this rib cage here, and then like a human chest, and then an arm. And it's all turned into something. So like the arms are then turning into these branches. The rib cage is turning into these like teeth. And then the chest part here is like eyes and nose. And I'm guessing like that tongue then is like intestines that are then coming out. You've got like the hip bones here. This model looks amazing and very similar to that dragon, which is themed around everything else that's happening. And again, seeing that model makes me want to know what the hell the story is behind it. And then going across here, you've got the mutant orc thing. And then this is like, what's going on? It looks like a werewolf, but then is it wearing a face as a hat? Or is it coming out of the face? You know, when you look at the rest of the stuff, they're all like mutating from things. What's going on? And is it a bear? Because you've got like bear here and then human arms here. Again, I want to know what's happening. And then going across this guy here, got this hero. He's like, he looks all humanoid and humanoid or whatever, but then he's turning into a tree. Or is he a tree that's turning into a human? I don't know, but I want to know. I want to know more. There's so much going on with these. They look fantastic. And then there's a random like mermaid, or merfolk, merman. And then this. So this set, like looking at those minis, makes me want to subscribe. I kind of want to do this adventure and figure it out, because those models are telling a story and they're telling it really well. And I don't know. I think sometimes you get all like your standard units and everything, but these, all the models are telling a story, and I like that. I really, really like it. So next up is Dragon Trappers Lodge. So these are the folks who brought us squirrels last month, and the squirrels were amazing. This month they have piqued my interest again. They've gone for a zoo, and it's not just a zoo of, because they could have taken the easy way out and been like, you know what, we want to do a zoo this month, and we're just going to put in just everything you'd find in D&D. So you find that they're basically taking everything you would find in D&D and been like, well, I'll take that monster, and that monster, and slam them together. This set is just wild. Like, it really is wild. So if we go through this, there's so much going on. So you've got like your zoo master, your ring master, or whatever. And you know, these ones are okay. They look nice. They're very nice minis, but they're not what we're here for. We're Ace Ventura here. Love it. Come on. Where's the monsters? So we'll skip past these guys because, yeah, they look great. But, oh, actually, I didn't notice that this guy has been held up. Some more gnomes. Definitely a very gnomey set throughout this whole month for everything else. Yep, okay, come on. Where's here we go. So the first one here, you know, what is going on? They've just taken everything and slammed it together. And then, again, we've got rhinoceros beetles. There is so much. And then these. I mean, it's like they went on to Monster Hunter and decided, you know what, there's some things that we really like on Monster Hunter, but how do we just have one of those things? And then they're like, that, putting the whole thing in there, but not just all of them, just all together. It's just insane. There is so much going on. I mean, these, like, bat, horse, creatures. I love them. There's, like, fairy fonts. And I think the creators behind Dragon Trappers Lodge need professional help, because these things are wild. They should never get professional help, because I want to see this creativity just go absolutely crazy, because it is fantastic. I'm here for it. This is I think right now they may be my favourite creator just for how crazy their stuff is. I think it's great. They look amazing. Absolutely here for it. And I would love to know what the adventure is behind this one. Again, like the previous one we just talked about, so Claymore Miniatures, I'm kind of tempted to subscribe to these because I just want to know what the adventure is for this month because, yeah, it looks great. And last on the D&D list is White Werewolf Tavern. I said that really weirdly. Dinosaur, Blindfold Lady, and Wraith Thing is on my notes. Let's load that up and have a look. Yep, so we've got these weird little kind of baby dinosaurs, which look a lot of fun. And I think the things that really stood out to me on this one that drew my attention was, see this like kind of Wraith mini with the guy in front of it. I think it looks really good. And then this sort of like blindfolded lady, the iguana in her hands, I think again looks fantastic. A very, very nice sculpt. So we go through those. Here we go. It's like this Wraith guy. I don't know what's going on. It must be like summoning it or controlling it. I think it's a really nice sculpt. I really like the look of it. There's so much going on there. So you get all things like your busts and stuff to use. And then you've got, again, a lot of this sort of like elvish gnome type thing going on this month. It must be a theme that's going. And little dinosaurs as well. So again, depending what sort of thing you're after. And this is probably my favourite one of this set. I think it looks really nice. A lovely base as well. I really like the way that's all done. Yeah, I really, really like that sculpt. I don't know what it is about it. I just think it's a very nice looking sculpt. So, moving across from D&D and onto terrain. And sometimes I always find it hard to find terrain. But this month, oh boy, there was a lot of terrain. Give me my mouse back. So first up, we've got Forbidden Prince, Demon Realm. So this one I thought looked really interesting. Again, if you're after something that's modular, wanted to create something for Kill Team, for example, you could probably even use it in fantasy gaming as well. There's a lot of stuff here. In fact, it probably is made for fantasy gaming. All of these bits are like modular, so you've got like your bridges, and you've got all like the walkways and stuff like that. So you can make this kind of just, again, adds a lot of verticality to it. You've got this little demon keep and tower and stuff like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun to print off, and it would most likely work well on either resin or on FDM as well, so you can't particularly go too far wrong with that. Next up, I've got Gamescape 3D, which have done a really good like grouping of ruins, these big like hills with steps and everything. Let's load up the preview for that one. So you've got all of these like modular ruins that you can print off. So again, if you wanted to have a bit of a skirmish, or if you want in your, I don't know, big old battle in the middle of that, you want to kind of separate things up and have everyone fight through an old destroyed city, you've got that. So you can print off all these different parts here. And just kind of customize that to your heart's content. There's a lot of stuff there. And then you've got all these hills. I'm never a massive fan of printing hills, just because I feel that you can craft them faster and use far less material. But they're there, so if you want to have all of those and print them off as well, and you don't have the crafting supplies, I guess it makes sense. That's how it all looks together. So you've got all the hills and backdrop and everything. And the nice thing about some of those hills, these ones here, for example, they've got all the steps like cut into them. So then if you wanted to, again, add some even more verticality to it, or if you didn't want to use the ruins and you wanted to have a big hilly section, you've got all of that there as well. So it's Gamescape 3D, some nice bits of terrain there. Next up, I've got terrains for print, and that's trenches and beachheads I've put here. So this is more of a sci-fi one, and a lot going on if you wanted to make, I don't know, like a big old beach landing, or loads of trenches, and have a big trench system for like your Grimguard to fight in. There's a lot here. So you've got all these sandbags, for example. As you go through it, you've got all these bunkers that you can create, or like the inside of a trench. So you can create like the inside of a bunker, and like the trench system going through it, and then have all the sandbags on top of it. And everything there is modular, so you can change it up. And then all the bits on the outside as well, so you can print off all these massive sections. And I think this looks like a lot of fun. And even if you didn't want to use it with sci-fi, you could use it with, is it bolt action for like your World War II type gaming? There's a lot of things here. It's got a lot of customization, a lot of game systems that you could use that with. And there's like an overview of all the bits there. So you've got like ammo boxes and crates and sandbags and all like the storage. Here we go, all the bits to, you know, stop all your tanks and all the bits for your beach landing. there's a lot here that I really like. Well, was it pillar boxes or pill boxes? Put some machine guns in there, different angles of it all as well. So there's a lot. And then for 40k, boxes of skulls, because you apparently need lots of boxes of skulls. So next up, Eons of Battle. And if you are already subscribed to the YouTube channel, you've probably seen this be painted up. But they've got all this like plague stuff, and this looks great. There's so much going on here. The big old like infected pox stuff. This like Sarlacc pit that's actually more lobster than Sarlacc pit. There's so much going on here. And again, if you've got like Nurgle army and you wanted to add something to it, it looks great. And the way it's painted up on their channel looks even better than these renders could make it look. So definitely worthwhile checking out if you're into sci-fi and you wanted something that's a bit different. Like I just did those radioactive pools in one of my last videos. These would be quite fun to put alongside it as well. So tempted, but we'll see. Next up, the name I always butcher, which is Zali Factory or Tali Factory, which there's a lot in this one. So there's a ruin, a pyramid, and then I just put lots on there because I gave up trying to write it all down. So let's load this one up. So you've got this sort of like hilltop ruin, which on its own looks really good. I think that would be a lot of fun there. Be interesting to have like a bit of a fight as you're going up the steps to then get on top of the ruin. And then also you've got all this stuff here as well. So if you are currently doing a Tomb King's army and you're into Old Worlds, this could be a really, really good set to pick up and print off because you've got all that sort of like Tomb King's-esque stuff that you could have a lot of fun with. All of this looks like it would take up so much filament and so much resin depending on what you're printing it on. So there is that to be conscious of, but I think it all looks great. If I find the pyramid, because the pyramid all looks modular, scroll through that. And the good thing is, I guess about this like hilltop ruin, you could just print off the ruin itself and not the rest of the hilltop if you didn't want to. Here we go, here's the pyramid, and this looks great. But then when you kind of scroll through it, you realise this would be an absolute undertaking to print off. But actually, I think the end result would look awesome. I don't have any Tomb King stuff at the moment, and I have no intention of printing off one of their armies, so it's not for me. But if I was into those armies, this would be great. Next up, we have got Gothic things, modular ruined houses, and random animals. So let's pull this one up and jog my memory. So it is. It's all these like modular ruins, which again, I always really appreciate these because it just adds a bit more flair. If you're doing a skirmish game or even just in your big battles, it's nice to have something that just separates things up and you can hide some of the units up in like the stairs above. And you can customize these because they all print off in separate bits. So you can print off different like wall pieces and different roof segments and then stick them together. And then as I guess a random bonus, you've got some random animals there as well. I guess you could stick those like rats in the ruins and stuff like that just to add a bit more character to all your printouts. Next one, we've got tiny furniture, and it's this like forest scatter terrain. From my memory, I really like this one actually. I always want to print off forest stuff, but sometimes it's kind of hard finding good trees and bits to go in there, but they've done a really good job of making all this like forest scatter terrain. So again, if you weren't doing something like a massive forest, you could print off a load of these different bits and just adds a bit more and a flair to your battlefield or your skirmish game, whatever it is you're doing. You'd probably want additional stuff as well. You wouldn't be able to get by with just that. But what you get there is a really nice set of like forest and woodland scatter terrain. So I just like the look of that one. And the final one on terrain is this big orc stronghold. And this one looks kind of crazy. This one looks like it would actually be really difficult to print off. But there's a lot here. And as a bonus, you also get lots of orc units as well. So if you are into orcs and goblins and stuff like that, it could be quite fun. So we go through that, you get all the walls. So you got like these walls, this tower, and then this big old thing as well. There's a lot here, a lot of stuff that you could print off. Like I said, it looks kind of difficult to print. I don't know if it would be or not, actually, because they kind of are all one piece. These bits might be a little bit tricky, where there's lots of separate wood and stuff like that, trying to figure out how to orient it on your printer and how you're going to support it and stuff. But once that's all printed, I think that'd be a really nice centerpiece to have. And like I mentioned, you also get these sort of things, and like loads of units as well. So if you want to print off some bits, you get all of these as well. I'm not a massive fan of them, but they do look kind of funky. But that terrain looks really, really good. So moving on from terrain onto the final part, which is the Kickstarter campaigns that I found. So first up, I found this Viking village. I think, again, this looks quite nice. I think I did a Viking village in the last one as well. Seems to be a lot of Viking village, so there must be a demand out there for it. I think these look really nice. Again, a lot going on there, a lot of bits you can customize and play with. The roofs are all detachable, so you can put your units inside of it. If you're using it for D&D to have a place that people are going to visit, using it for wargaming, for example, you can play around with that a lot. So it's worthwhile having a look at if you want something that's going to be or like Viking themed or snow themed. I think this would be quite nice. Like this lodge, for example, I really like the look of that to maybe print to go off with all my ice cast. I think it would be quite nice to do all these like snow effects, like the fort and the walls. So there's a lot going there, and definitely worthwhile checking out as well if you're into that sort of thing. And next we've got Hero Stand Plimps, and I actually have some of these. So the creator reached out to me, and I'll hopefully have a video done soon. And these are these like little plimps that you can put your unit onto, and just great for photography. So if you're into miniature photography and you just want a small backdrop that captures them. So have I got anything nearby? Pull him off. Like that, you could then put them in there and get your camera in really nicely and then just get that shot rather than having to worry about what else you've got in the backdrop. They also do like these big ones as well. In fact, they'll be on here. You've got like name stands, you've got all sorts of modularity, you've got these like pillars that they can stand on. There's a lot of customization options in these. Let's scroll through these. So here we go. So like this here, you've got a bit of a preview of all the bits that you can print off. These sort of big ones here. So when I looked at printing those, they're about that big. So you'd then have like a whole regiment in there, for example, or a whole squad in there. And it just means that you can have everything in this nice display case. There's not just on its own. It just means all your units and stuff have this nice backdrop. It's kind of unnecessary, I guess, in a way. But then so there's a lot of things we do in this hobby. So if you can add a little bit of flair to all your stuff when it's all kind of displayed, these can really add something nice to your display. So that is Hero Stand Plimps, worthwhile checking out as well. And the last one I've got is Zombie Apocalypse. This looks amazing. This looks like it's ripped straight out of Killing Floor, the computer game, and turned into just a miniatures game. I think this would work really well with Sci-Fi, or even things like World War II, or modern gaming, or anything like that, because there's so much here. You get miniatures, but more importantly, you get all of these like buildings, and all these modern buildings that either come in non-destroyed form or like destroyed form. It'd be amazing. I would love to put together a whole city like this. Like this like destroyed apartment block. There's a lot here, and I guess you could choose how tall the buildings are or how, I guess, not tall they are. These look fantastic. I'm tempted to pledge just because of my game Realm Break. It all takes place in like a modern-esque destroyed city, and I think these would look great with all the units kind of roaming around and exploring, especially since you can remove things as well, so you can, I guess, put them into the different floors and stuff. It's all destroyed church. Looks like it comes off in a lot of pieces there. And I like the different houses. And these look like I don't know actually if you'd be able to really pull it off too well, but for things like Legions Imperialis, when I did the city build, I wonder how well, I mean the big buildings would probably be fine, but like these little houses and stuff, I wonder how well they would scale down to like fit that. Probably do all right. Mind you, they do come off in multiple pieces, so maybe not. But there's so much here. You could build like a full city. And I think I'm gonna end up subscribing to this one because there's so much. I really like it. It looks fantastic. And I do need to do a Sci-Fi modern-esque board. And this could be the thing that kickstarts me for that. Yeah, so check that one out. That is, I've named it Zombie Apocalypse, but I don't think that's what it's actually called. No, it is. It is called Zombie Apocalypse on Kickstarter. You've got 21 days left to back that, so head on over and check that one out. So that is the overview of all the different creators this month and some of the different Kickstarters. There was a lot this month. There was so many good sets. So let me know any that I've missed or just not had the opportunity to cover. throw them down in the comments below as well, so that way other people can check them out. There's so many other good ones. So as I was scrolling through this month, there was just so many, but obviously there's only so much time that this video can go up for, because otherwise it could be a very, very long one. Again, let me know if you're happy with the way that I'm doing these videos. The general consensus seemed to be that just keep them as one big long video, and as long as it's time stamped, you guys are happy for that. And I was also considering maybe doing it as like a live stream for like next month, and then as I'm going through it and showing you what I've got, if you guys then had any ideas of other things that I should be showing off as well, I can then pick those up as we go. So let me know your thoughts on that one. I could potentially do both. Who knows? World's your oyster. But thanks for watching. Hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and happy printing.